In arranging flowers, you remove everything that's unnecessary in order to strengthen the composition. You might think that the more material that's used, the greater the value of the composition. But the opposite is true. The less there is, the more forceful the work. In flower arrangement, and in gardens as well, the Japanese value the beauty of the line. Strength of line is what matters most. By cutting back, an organic line comes to the fore. The point is to search for that organic line. By doing so, the essence of the plant is revealed. In ikebana, it's not enough to be concerned only with the narrow, confined realm of the composition. That space only exists because there is a larger world outside. I realized that when I began arranging flowers. It was through ikebana that I became interested in gardens. In other words, I became interested in exterior space as well as interior. So I began to design some gardens. For this garden, we cut the window very low, so that guests eating dinner would see the garden by lowering their line of sight in an unusual angle. The point here was to confuse the viewer a bit. Is the garden inside, or is it outside? A garden designer named Kobori Enshu first used a low window on a garden like this about 300 years ago. It was an unusual approach, and I borrowed the idea. To me, the more magnificent the tradition, the greater the challenge it presents to us to think about our own age. After all, those gardens were designed for medieval Japan. We have to think in terms of what we can create for today's world. It would be pointless just to copy what went before.
A museum is something like the frame of a painting. The artist provides the content, and the architect builds the frame that encases it. The building serves to protect the art and to connect it to its surroundings. The hill in back has a soft, curving line, and the sharp line of the building creates a contrast. People talk a lot about harmony with nature, but there can also be a tension with nature. That tension can create a different kind of harmony. Gardens play a key role in linking the building to the landscape around it. By asking the sculptor Isamu Noguchi to design this garden, we knew we would get a garden that bridges the building and the natural surroundings. Since Isamu was a friend of Ken Domon, his participation would enhance the commemorative meaning of the building. When Noguchi designed this garden, he didn't focus on the central sculpture. Never mind that, he'd say. It's just a stone. That's the easy part. What's difficult is to understand the entire space and to decide where and how to place the elements. This garden was designed by Hiroshi Teshigahara on the theme of flow. It's the first garden he designed. It's like a painting that fills the far wall, and it also serves to link the building to the surrounding environment. For materials, it uses river stones from the nearby Mogami River and dwarf bamboo that is long grown on these hillsides. The placement of the rocks makes wonderful use of the space between the hill and the building. Of course, there's no water, but as you gaze at the garden, you almost seem to hear the sound of running water. This garden was completed along with the building 7 or 8 years ago, and as time passes, it becomes more of a piece with the building and more unified with the surroundings. It's becoming a fine garden.
Most of the gardens built these days are copies. I think what we need instead is true creativity. We've gradually lost the will to take radical risks. We just follow patterns. This is true not just of gardens, but in flower arranging as well. I think this is the result of the fact that form has taken priority and creativity has suffered. We need to tear apart those patterns and look at the possibilities. We should be rethinking the garden in the context of modern architecture.
Within its limits, the Japanese garden swims, remarked the sculptor Isamu Noguchi. It works, it navigates, it floats within the imagination of the people who experience it. We are a landscape of all we have seen, Noguchi said. Can we really recreate nature, or do we go on and do something other?